Bella. I'm from Ohio and I'm currently in Tampa and I teach yoga. I teach a power yoga class and a beginner's level class. Well, I kind of had a journey in my yoga
Mhm.
experience. I started seriously when I was 18 and started going with my mom, which was a really fun bonding thing for us to do together. And so I practiced a few years in high school. And then when I went to college, I really appreciated that outlet for all my stress.
Yeah.
And when I studied abroad, my junior year, fall to Madrid for a semester and got really homesick and found a yoga studio there that felt like a home away from home. And like I
Mhm.
loved the teacher and the other people that went. And we went on a retreat together, and it was like a hiking and yoga retreat. And one of the other girls who I'd become friends with was telling me about how she was doing a yoga teacher training in India. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds like the most amazing thing. I would love to do that. But it seemed so impossible for me at the moment. Like I was a broke college student. I'm like, how
Mhm.
could I do that? But when I got back to school, our school had a program for you to pitch your own idea for something to do in the summer and they would fund it. So I
Yeah.
put together a proposal for doing my yoga teacher training in India. And I like remember laying in my bed and getting the email that I'd been
Mhm.
accepted and being so happy. So I got to go to India and do like a 30-day intensive program to get my training. So it was kind of a process of just realizing how much I loved it and how much it had given me and like made me feel safe and at home and, comfortable. And I wanted to give that to other people. My favorite part is definitely the community aspect and
Mhm.
getting to interact with other people and to create like a safe space where you focus inward on your own personal growth and getting to know yourself more and seeing my own evolution and the evolution of my students. I've had a lot of people who have taken their first ever yoga class with me,
Wow.
and it's amazing to see them like go on and keep practicing and even like become a yoga teacher themselves. So I just love the ability to facilitate someone to take time away from their busy life and to just focus on themselves and being present. I think some of the struggles are just finding balance, between your own practice and self care and being able to fully show up for others. Personally, I want to be able to bring myself to my class and to my students. And sometimes that can be really, really hard. I remember one day when I first started teaching, I got a speeding ticket on my way to class and I had been like crying, literally crying in the car. And I had to like get to class and like, be really positive. But you can also be authentic and like share those experiences and share
Yeah.
what you learned from them. So I think it's just finding that balance of, taking care of yourself so you can show up for others. And just being able to, be you at the same time. Yeah, great question. I think COVID has changed so many things for so many people. There have been so many hardships, but
Mhm.
also a lot of opportunities to work on your priorities and what's important to you. And I've had major life changes. I was living in Chicago and then moved back home and then moved to Florida.
Mhm.
So it's been a big year of shifting. But as a yoga teacher, I've been fortunate to be able to keep working in person. I worked at a studio for about 3 months in Ohio while I was home. And then now in Florida, I teach in person. And we do like open air stuff. I teach a courtyard class where we're outside. So I feel fortunate to be able to still have that in person connection.
Yeah.
And I've also started making YouTube videos, which has been
Wow.
really fun to get to offer classes to people who aren't comfortable coming in person or have, different blocks that they're unable to. But I think also just in a bigger sense, prioritizing what's important to me and teaching is so important to me because it's kind of like a passion of mine. So I'm happy that I've been able to do that, because when I was in Chicago, I wasn't teaching. So being able to move and have more time was like one of the best things that happened in the midst of all the chaos. I think an interesting thing is, I mentioned like I was able to reflect on my priorities, and I think that's happened for a lot of other people. And I do think that health and wellness and mental health and physical health have risen in the ranks of priority for a lot of people. And I've seen a huge surge in people practicing yoga, which makes me so happy.
Yeah.
And meditating and focusing on eating better. So I hope that, keeping health and wellness a priority and having more time to do so will stay as a trend. And then there's more offerings now. There's more in-person classes or outdoor classes or free classes online.
Yeah.
So I really hope that that accessibility maintains itself.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I feel fortunate to have had experiences practicing yoga in a few different places. So, I started my yoga practice in the States, in Ohio, where it was more like workout based, which I think is an entry point, because you have very tangible outputs of like, okay, if I do this heated power class, I'm going to sweat, I'm going to feel really good, I'm going to see myself getting stronger. And it's very motivating to get into the practice. But when I did my teacher training in India, I was opened up to this like whole world, like meditation and pranayama, breath work, mindfulness. And I saw in the community how it was more of a lived practice where you're really taking yoga off of your mat. And, asana is like 1/8 of the 8 limbs of yoga. So just looking at how you're living your life more holistically. And I think that is starting to seep its way over here. And as yoga grows in the US, there's kind of this balance of like Westernization and accessibility with like honoring the Eastern roots of yoga. And I think it's shifting here too. There's kind of both. And I don't want to put down any type of yoga practice. And I think if you go, like for me, I got started with yoga as a workout and then was opened up to this whole world. And I think that process is happening for a lot more people in the US without them having to go to India or something. Oh, 100% just be yourself, because I remember having such like an imposter syndrome when I first started and thinking like, I don't know every single bone or muscle in the body. Like, I'm not qualified to teach this. What if I mess up or mess up my words or forget a sequence in the middle of class, or people just don't like me? And so I think just learning to be comfortable with myself and to know that if I love what I'm doing and I'm putting it out there, like the people who that's meant for will resonate with that.
Yeah.
And you can't really go into teaching a class with like fear or self-doubt, because I do think that would kind of spread. So just learning to be like really confident in who you are, knowing that like you're offering something with good intention, and just being yourself is the biggest piece of advice that took me a few years to learn. So if someone else can do that and like have that whole self-growth, I think that's amazing.
Absolutely. I really agree. And I think it's a great advice, because it's very common among trainers to like not be that confident in front of a class. So I think it's very important. Yeah.
And it's scary, because it's like you have a room full of people like looking at you, looking at your body, what you're saying, judging you. Like you have to basically entertain them for an hour or longer. So it takes a minute, but like be patient with yourself too, even if you don't feel that way right off the bat.
Right.
I think what motivates me is honestly like my internal evolution. And I think life can be so confusing, like, why does this happen? Who am I? What's my purpose here? What are humans? What are we doing? And for me, like yoga has given me an internal journey. And I realize the more I look inward, the more answers I get. And it used to make me feel selfish to say my happiness, my well-being is my number one priority, but it really is, because if I am focusing on myself, I'm able to give to others so much more effectively. And like my yoga practice, like knowing I have to get on my mat pretty much every day, it really makes me think about all the decisions I'm making in terms of, you know, what I'm doing, what I'm putting in my body, who I'm hanging out with, how my mood is, how my energy is, how I'm taking care of myself. And so I feel like it really just keeps me accountable and offers me the tools to become a better person so that I can then, you know, give back. Oh, this is fun. Well, I remember the first like yoga video I did, it was literally a DVD, like back in the day, my mom and I would do together, and it's Krista McGee, and she's now a Peloton yoga and Pilates instructor, but she's had like an amazing, authentic career, like sharing her own difficulties and things that have helped her personally. And it's also cool to see her as like now a slightly older woman, like still just rocking it out, looking amazing, being amazing, living her best life. And I just really resonate with people that are authentic. Like Catherine Budig is another yoga teacher I love. I took a workshop with her in Chicago, and the whole time she was like cracking jokes, really funny examples for things or ways of describing things. So I love people like that, and that, you know, inspires me to step into myself even more. Instead of trying to emulate exactly who they are, I'm like inspired by how they express themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, this might sound like a broken record now, but that your individuality is your superpower. And I think, you know, say in like an Ashtanga class, it's the same sequence for whatever class you go to. So at the end of the day, people are kind of coming to your class for what you offer them as an instructor. And, you know, being yourself is the best thing you can do. So that's what I tell myself. And that's what I want my students to walk away knowing too, is that I think through the process of yoga, you get to know yourself. And it can be hard to know who you are. Like it kind of takes some deep reflection to get there. And so I just hope that, you know, everyone is just living their best self and doing them, embracing it, vibing with their tribe. So that's it.